When I was young, I used a spatula for all my flips. Now I'm hard-boiled, baby, and my eggs are covered in pips. I don't want to see any lips on your lips. No, I want to see proteins squeezed while they're hot. And when they're cold and firm, ready or not, I want to see their new shape. They'll no longer look like a grape. Oh, we'll be breakfast Hall of Famers. We'll be egg-shellent tabletop gamers. Fine molds will turn eggs into diamonds that are fine, and the head of Albert Einstein. Look, I butter my toast with humility, but I boil and shake my eggs for probability. Black and white? No. Chance for me is yolk and white. Ha! Get it right. There's a website. Ooh, it'll shed some light. You don't have to beg twice. Everybody can have egg dice. Fruit salad? More like physics salad. I discovered that I could do this when I was cutting up apples for my daughter the other day. It's just like Dr. Yurikimova's potato demonstration. When you stick a knife into something and then you hit the knife, what's gonna happen? Intuitively, even I thought at the time that the apple would fall off, but instead, the knife cuts right through the apple. It happens because when I hit the knife, all of its parts pretty much accelerate together, but the less connected apple accelerates more slowly, allowing the knife to race on through. I can use the same principle to bash my head safely. Hitting my head with this wooden table leg would hurt a lot. I mean, even this little bit doesn't feel too good. But if I put a dense, heavy tungsten cube in the way, I could bash my head as hard as I want, and I don't feel anything. This is moving quickly, but it takes a lot of force to accelerate this cube. So even when it's hit really hard, it barely accelerates, it barely moves, and it doesn't hurt. An amusing anecdote. Apparently, at an Academy Awards anniversary, acclaimed American actor Alan Alda asked a rival's Amy Adams, allegedly, "Amy, any avocations?" And Amy answered, "Absolutely." An appetizing amusement, actually. Apple alphabetizing. Abundanza, Abram, Cain, Alfriston, Ambrosia. Aphids? Arizonan actor Asher Angel, an aspiring agriculturalist and avid apple admirer, amended, "Actually, aphids attack apples?" Amy apologized, and Aziz Ansari added, "Anaphylaxis accompanies apple allergy. Anyone afflicted?" All afflicted admitted, "I." Abruptly, an alarm activated. Alert, alert. American astronaut Andrew Allen, aboard Atlantis as always, announced, "America, aliens are approaching." Aliens. Anticipation and anxiety accumulated. All afternoon, Army agents assembled, arming and aiming artillery as an astonishing alien aircraft arrived. Aboard? An auspicious, axolotlish alien. Affable, angelic, arms akimbo. Aforementioned alien arched aloft and articulated an adorably atomic achoo. All around applauded, abandoned apprehension, and aspirated, "Aww." Aloha. Aloha. The word blossom contains the word bloom, and within destruction there lies ruin. Today, I'm talking about kangaroo words, words that contain synonyms, little baby versions of themselves within their pouches, their spellings. Precipitation, rain. Substandard, bad. Dearly departed, dearly dead.
There are also twin kangaroo words, words that contain two synonyms of themselves. For example, the word deteriorate contains both die and rot. Chariot contains car and cart. But the most famous is the grand kangaroo word, a word that contains a synonym that also contains a synonym. For example, alone contains lone, and lone contains one. Anti-kangaroo words contain an antonym of themselves. For example, here is in there. Inside a friend, you can find a fiend. Whoa, was that a threat or a treat? Oh guys, no, I thoroughly counted. Or maybe I roughly counted? Now, I've been trying to find my own types of kangaroo words. Like, I want to find a word that contains both an antonym and a synonym of itself. So far, I've just found one, close-mouthed. It contains both mute and loud. Oh, but listen to this. Lashing a bongy mophciliate shelf. Now, I just made that word up. It doesn't mean anything, and yet it contains a synonym of itself. Look what I just figured out. I've been comparing human body proportions to the orbital distances of celestial bodies. And as it turns out, if the sun was at the top of your head and Pluto was at the bottom of your feet, Jupiter would be right at your chin and Uranus would be right at your anus. Now I know what a lot of you are thinking. Michael, Pluto's not a planet. Well, guess what? I agree. And I've got something for us too. As it turns out, if the sun was at the tip of your nose and Earth, the cradle of everything life needs, was right at the mouth, well then Neptune would be right at the knees and Uranus would be right at your anus. Coincidence? Yes, it's a complete coincidence and doesn't mean anything. Or does it? No, it doesn't. Bye! Now wait, there might be something else. Okay, if Uranus was at your mouth and the sun was at your feet, the Earth would be at your ankles? I don't know, is that something? I'm gonna keep looking. These round balls are actually six-sided dice? How the H do they work? Well, they don't actually have six sides. Like a good friend, they have six vertices on the inside. Or at least that's what I thought. If you shake one, you can hear a little ball jangling around inside. And so for years, I figured they just had little cup-like depressions opposite each number, and a little ball inside would fall in there and hold the ball steady when it ran out of tumbling energy. But then I did some research and found everyone talking about octahedral insides. And that makes sense. An octahedron has 6 vertices, so a ball trapped inside can fall into any of those 6 corners and hold the die steady. But to be sure, I decided to make one of these guys talk. Okay, it was harder to cut into than I expected, and I had to resort to increasingly shameful behavior until finally it cracked. Now I should have wrapped it in a towel before I hammered it because it took me an hour to find where all the pieces had shrapneled off to. The ball was snoozing under my cork roll. But check out the space inside the die. It's not an octagonal cavity, it's a series of cup-like depressions. Oh, I always believed in you guys.
This is the Statue of Liberty.
I don't know where this came from. I found it deep within my office yesterday while cleaning, and I've never seen it before. I don't remember being given it, I don't remember buying it, I don't know what it is, and yet it found me. Now, it calls itself an anisosquaric rectangle. Anisosquaric is a word that does not appear on Google. Not even once. It's not a hapax legomenon. It is an udepota legomenon, something that has never been said. Now, luckily, it has a subtitle, Stone's Simple Perfect Squared Rectangle. Now, that was enough to help me find this number file video, which, by the way, is great. You should watch it. Basically, squaring a square involves building a square out of smaller squares. Now, that might sound trivial, but if you require each square to be different, well, now you're asking for a perfect squared square, and the first one wasn't found until the late 1930s. There was a lot of celebration when it was discovered, but some people weren't happy yet. Notice that it contains subsets that are themselves rectangles, well, that makes it a compound perfect squared square. So the next question became, is there, or can we discover, a simple perfect squared square? Well, the answer to that wouldn't come until computers could help us in the late 70s. Anyway, from what I can tell, what I have here is based on a discovery made by Arthur Harold Stone. It's not a squared square, it's a squared rectangle, 77 by 76. It's simple, the only rectangle these squares make is the one they make all together, and it's also perfect. They're all different, which, by the way, is what aniso means. It means unequal. The squares are all unequal to each other. So what does it all mean? Well, I bet some of you have figured it out already. The opposite of Gilmore Girls is lungless boys. I made a clock that tells time. Your time. Just answer a few questions, and then, when it's ready, press the red button and the clock will begin counting down the seconds you have left to live. Approximately. If you would like to own your own practical retro memento mori, you can pre-order one now. Whenever you want, you can switch it to show the time or the date, but it never forgets. If you take away its power, it goes dark, but it's still counting. It's still thinking about you. Next time you plug it in, it'll pick right back up where it should be. We adorned it with some of my favorite Latin sundial mottos. Oh, you want to know what they mean? Yeah, I got time. Omnis vulnerant, ultima necat, refers to these passing seconds. It means each one of these wounds, the last kills. Mox Nox means soon it will be night, and it will. So pre-order now. Your time is literally running out. These words are written in the wrong colors. Or are they? They are, but not the wrong one you think. Believe it or not, they are all written in the same color. It's called the bezeled effect. And now, thanks to the Curiosity Box, it's called fashion. What I love about this illusion is that we have no idea how it works. What we do know is that when a colored pattern is overlaid on a colored background, our brains, or maybe just our eyes, assimilate the colors into their additive mixture. Right now, my foreheads are their same usual color. You would know that if you lived in reality, but you don't. Your awareness is just a spectator at your brain's show. This phenomenon has been exploited for a long time by the produce business. The netting that fruit is packaged in is specifically formulated to take advantage of the bezeled effect to make the fruit look better. Speaking of adding colors, we also put a prism in the box, because not only can they make rainbows, they can also destroy them. Like the rainbow we put on the box. Positioned just right, the prism can combine its colors into a white line. I'm a chameleon who can't pick a color. Grow up, dude. Pull yourself together. Optically. But Michael, optical illusions won't help me do math while I'm eating. Why are you doubting me? The box also comes with 2 pairs of chopsticks that are also functional slide rules, so you can nourish your body with food and products, quotients, powers, and roots. Now that's what I call bon appetit. Wait, what, you don't think I can name all 5 species of salmon found in North America's Pacific waters? Talk to the hand, because thumb rhymes with chum. My pointer finger can poke out your eye. Sockeye. My middle finger is the tallest. That makes it the king. You can wear a silver ring on your ring finger, pinky pink. Now shake it. Shake my hand, evil octopus, is a fun way to remember the order of the Great Lakes from west to east. That's right, I've got Aura, the kind that helps me remember how to spell restaurant. It is the 10th most misspelled word on Google. Here's the rest of the top 10. If you want to become a better speller, mnemonics can help a lot. Now, I'm sure you've heard I before E except after C. It's a pretty good one. It has a lot of exceptions though, right? Well, luckily, the fine people at Merriam-Webster have updated it to make it more complete. All you have to remember is this: I before E except after C, or when sounded as A as in neighbor or way, unless the C is part of a sh sound as in glacier, or appears in comparatives and superlatives as in fancier, and also except when the vowels are sounded as E as in seas, or I as in height, and also in ing inflections ending in E as in queuing, and also in compound words as in albeit, and occasionally in technical words with strong etymological roots to their parent language as in cuneiform, and in other numerous and random exceptions such as science and forfeit and weird. It's easy. cathedrals everywhere for those with eyes to see. For example, I have a Lego figurine of myself, and I hear you saying, "Oh, that's not very realistic." Well, guess what? I also made a topless one. I've also started a barf bag collection. Some of them are pretty standard, but some of them say some pretty cute things. I wish I was a popcorn bag. Aww. But check out this one from Air New Zealand. It is gigantic. This is like the love seat of barf bags. There's room for Tooter Ralph in here. Hey, do you want to see some banned books? Come here. The Grateful Dead, the Beatles, banned books. Now check this out. My friend Dory over at Wask makes a piggy bank that is so small, it only has room for a single coin. She calls it Stretched Thin. Oh, and remember that illegal selfie I took at the White House? Well, while I was there, I pocketed some of their disposable hand towels. Christmas is about the birth of a baby who grew up to be an egg beater. During ThinkerCon last year, I visited Cosmic Christ, a 43-foot tall outer space Jesus made of 14 million Italian tiles laid out on Huntsville, Alabama's First Baptist Church. Huntsville is Rocket City, USA, so it's fitting that their Jesus is cosmic and their steeple is a rocket. I think that originally this was intended to be spinning robes, but its similarity to a whisk is why everyone calls it Egg Beater Jesus. Although historians widely agree that there really was a Jewish guy named Jesus who lived in the Herodian Empire of Judea in the 1st century and had a following, not a single one of them believes that his legs were made of a series of wire loops. But if you time traveled back to Galilee in the late 20s and found him walking around on the street and ran up to him and said, "Jesus," he'd probably be like, Gesundheit? Because no one called him Jesus during his lifetime. His original name, the name that his mom and his best friend across the street called him, was probably more like Yeshu. If we had named this holiday after his original formal name and not his title, these would not be Christmas presents, they would be Yeshu Bar Yosef HaNatzri presents. But after hundreds of years and transliteration through multiple languages and alphabets, Yeshu became Jesus. Now, if the New Testament had been written in Hebrew and transliterated just like the Old Testament, well, Jesus may have wound up like its Yeshus and Yeshuas. And today, we wouldn't have a Jesus Christ. We'd all be stubbing our toes and saying, Joshua Christ! This is the average color of Neptune, and this is the average color of Uranus, which would be this big if the Earth was this big. That's right, we brought back some classics. Right now, if you sign up for a year of Curiosity Boxes, we will send you our Legacy Box for free in time for Christmas. If you missed out years ago, it's a great way to grab some of my DNA, like my favorite gyroscope, or our light nanosecond-long ruler that allows you to measure at the speed of sound, Soma Cube blues, and our 2-scale solar system decals. Fun fact, I used them to decorate my daughter's room years ago, and yes, part of the sun does come with it. These other stars don't, but we arranged them exactly as they appeared in the sky from our city the morning she was born. Ooh, the Legacy Box also contains a never-before-seen item, our special edition of Ernst Haeckel's historic illustrations of nature, with a foreword from me and the transparencies that no one seems to put in anymore. Become an annual subscriber right now to get our Legacy Box for free, and both of these boxes in time for Christmas. Take care, and happy Thanksgiving! All right, now be careful, these plates are hot. Anything else I can do for you all? Excuse me. Oh my gosh, I forgot your pasta. I am so sorry. Oh, actually, there's something I can do about that right now. Watch this. Huh, now that's what I call macaroni. Eat up. Hi, I'm Yankee Doodle, and I'm delusional. Or am I? Yankee Doodle calls this macaroni because the entire song was originally a joke about how sad and cringe Americans are. You see, back then, sophisticated British men who traveled Europe and loved flamboyant fashion and Italian pastas started calling everything that was deliciously extra very macaroni. But on the other side of the Atlantic, Yankee Doodle Dandy puts one feather in his cap and says, "Look at me, guys, I'm macaroni, haha, I'm doing it too." Pathetic. But Americans wound up reappropriating the song, and today they sing Yankee Doodle patriotically. take some urine and make it thicker. We're gonna be using imitation urine. I've got a bunch of this stuff because I work for a company that makes science kits for kids, and if a child dreams of becoming a urologist, they deserve synthetic diseased pee. Now, I love this stuff, but I don't like that it can run away. So let's gelatinize it. This is a medical drink thickener. In water, its intermolecular forces attract water molecules instead, turning what used to be a rolling pool of balls that can slip by each other into a messy tangle of longer molecules that's thick. That property means this powder can help people with dysphagia. If a patient aspirates thin liquids like water when they drink, a great way to keep them hydrated might be thick water. Thick urine? Well, that's just for me and you. The key ingredient in this thickener is maltodextrin. It doesn't affect the taste of the liquid or the availability of its nutrients. Aw yeah, look at that. It's like nectar of the gods. A few more scoops and we should have something that's spoon thick, like a nice bladder pudding. You're in the cup, 'cause you're stuck there. You've become a gel. $315 million years ago, the Earth looked like Yoshi, eating a chicken nugget. That's why the places that we today call New Mexico and Colorado are so often referred to as ancient Yoshi Nugget Land, by me, to myself when I'm alone. I also love daydreaming about this place. I call it Never Eat Soggy Waffles Alone Point. Can you tell what makes it special? That's right, never eat soggy waffles. This is the only point on Earth's surface that you can go to from which no one will be permanently living directly to your north, east, south, or west. I also want to talk about Earth's Hedberg points. No international court has ever recognized them, because I just made them up yesterday. They're based on a joke that the late Mitch Hedberg used to tell. In the joke, he describes buying a map to put on his wall so he can stick a pin in all the locations he visits. Unfortunately, he laments, he's going to have to visit the top 2 corners of the map first so it doesn't fall down. Well, Mitch, R.I.P. this. If you want to use 2 pins to stick a typical cylindrical map projection onto your wall in the usual way, these are the 2 places you'll have to visit first. And I think, Mitch, we should name them after you. What's the most dangerous thing in my office? Is it this piece of asbestos behind glass? This piece of asbestos not behind glass? This vial of snake venom? Maybe it's these tubes of radioactive tritium gas? I don't know. It's probably this machete I found outside. But what if it's this crock pot of chicken soup? Just kidding. That's the most delicious thing here. Or is it? Take a look at this 1600 milliwatt laser. If you point this at popcorn kernels, they will immediately burn. But I learned from William Osmond that if you spin the kernel before it burns, it will pop. I spent 3 days trying to make that happen with no luck. All I managed to make was a bunch of burned kernels and scraps of modeling clay. It even damaged my camera. You see these pink dots on my screen? Yep, that's laser light damage to my phone's camera. But the whole ordeal taught me something. Through it, I discovered the truly most dangerous thing in my office. The truth. In life, a lot of hard work will often get you nothing but a mess.
Ay, ay, ay.
And the best you can do is pretend that you're happy with the results. Oh, yum. I told my friend Scott I was taking him to lunch, but actually, I made him sit in my car with me. In the morning, I'd placed 12 pounds of cast iron on the dash. By midday, it was 104 outside, 124 in the shade in my car, and the skillet had reached 97C 207F. This is not healthy. No, this is a dangerous space to be in. Also, it was hard to record the meal because our phones kept overheating. But anyway, in a raw egg, the proteins are curled up like little balls. But when you heat it up, they start jiggling faster and knock into each other, and they unravel and tangle up, forming a net that traps water inside, making the egg firm but moist. However, if you cook an egg like this, the water evaporates before it can be trapped, and the proteins just coagulate around like nothing, and the whole thing just gets gummy and then dry. It tasted like eggs, but the texture was like wet, snotty boogers out of Humpty Dumpty's nose. It was like if you took an egg-flavored gummy bear and grated it onto some drops of watery glue. What I'm saying is it was delicious. You should try it. Life is full of experiences. Be a sponge, soak them up, dry them out, and get them gummy. If your anus was this big, it would be a black hole. That's right, our new shirt displays Uranus's Schwarzschild radius in actual size. If Uranus, or anything with its mass, was compressed into a non-rotating ball that was just this wide, the gravitational force at its surface would be so strong, not even light could escape. Our new shirt tells you all about it, and you'll be getting one if you're subscribed to the Curiosity Box or do so soon. There is a Schwarzschild radius for every amount of mass. For the sun, it's about 3 kilometers. For you, it's about 10 septillionths of a meter, smaller than an atomic nucleus. For Earth, it is 8.87 millimeters, which you'll never forget because of this gauge on our multifool. If you ever feel sad and like nothing's going right, just place this card on the ground. If Earth does not fit through this hole, well, that means it's not a black hole yet. Which is great. Are you still cutting shapes out of paper like a chump? Sounds like you need the fold and cut theorem. The fold and cut theorem states that for any shape on paper made of straight lines, there exists a way to fold it flat so that all its edges become collinear and the shape can be cut out with just one straight cut. The idea had been a conjecture for years, but wasn't proven until 1999. Disc packing and straight skeleton are the 2 known methods for finding a shape's magic folds. Oh, look at that, a full tangram tile set with just one straight cut. It's been said that the US flag has 5 pointed stars on it because Betsy Ross knew how to fold and cut them with one easy snip. But now, here's a challenge. What do you think this will become? Look at the folds, look at the symmetries. What could this be? Think about it. I'm gonna make my one straight cut, just like this. Boom. All right, you got your guess? You got it locked in? Happy Halloween. Look at me, I'm a jack-o'-lantern. Ho, ho, ho! You'll never get me, pot of gold! I trimmed my beard yesterday, so I'm feeling a bit like a baby today. But look at the trimmings, specifically this one. That is 2.4 fortnights worth of beard growth. How do I know? Well, because of this tool. I made this about 5 years ago to free people from the tyranny of standard units. It measures in weird units like beard fortnights. The typical length of beard grows every 2 weeks. It's also got micro-Everests, millionths of Mount Everest's height. Light picoseconds, how far light travels in a trillionth of a second. If you didn't get one 5 years ago, but you're subscribed, much later this year, 3 boxes from now, you'll get one in a special legacy box we're making. The entire ruler is exactly 1 light nanosecond long. This is how far light travels in a vacuum in 1 nanosecond. Everything I see from this distance, I'm seeing as it was a billionth of a second ago. It's a reminder that you live in the past. Because light has a finite speed, you do not see things as they are. You see the universe only as it was. Also, you're going nowhere. If you fall asleep tonight in the same bed you woke up in this morning, your average velocity for the day will be 0.
Hey vsauce, Michael here.
The worst book I've read so far this year has got to be How to Make a Hat Entirely Out of Dried Cucumber by Zandiloquence Bazar the Ab III.
Wow, what a fantastic review for my book, How to Make a Hat Entirely Out of Dried Cucumber. And as promised, for reaching well over 1 million views, I'm gonna make you a hat entirely out of dried cucumber.
If you stopped going to the bathroom and just held everything in for a year, you would gain about 600 kilograms. That's more than 1,300 pounds. What does that mean? Well, it means that the Cybertruck weighs about as much as an adult who has not pooped or peed for 5 years. Here's an ostrich going to the bathroom. Did you know that ostriches are the only birds with just 2 toes? It's believed to be an adaptation that helps them run faster. The fastest human has 5 toes on each foot, but only uses 2 legs to run. And that's ridiculous. Look at this hilarious technique. Both of his legs are off the ground, which means in this moment he is slowing down. A human can only accelerate when they are actively pushing off of the ground to reach a greater speed. A cheetah spends almost 70% of its stride accelerating, pushing on the ground. But when Usain Bolt set the 100-meter dash human world record, he was only on the ground 43% of the time. The best way to run faster is to have more legs. The current world record for the human 4-legged 100-meter dash is 15.71 seconds, but humans are rapidly improving on that thanks to better training and technique. A group of researchers has even made the bold and controversial claim that given expected improvements in 2- and 4-legged running, by the 2048 Olympics, the fastest human in the world will be a quadruped. Dr. Seuss's first book was The Pocketbook of Boners. In the 1930s and 40s, a boner was a silly mistake, a blunder that was boneheaded. And that's exactly what this book is full of. It's full of hilarious misconceptions children shared with their teachers. For example, iron was discovered because somebody smelt it A Soviet is a cloth used by a waiter in a hotel. Kids say the darndest things. Boner books were incredibly popular in the early 1930s. In 1941, the best of the first four were compiled into this collection, and a young Theodore Geisel, Dr. Seuss, came on board to illustrate it. The book went on to be one of the best-selling paperbacks during World War II and spawned many more like it. The Omnibus Boners, the Second Boners Omnibus, Bigger and Better Boners. And this book that I'm holding is a later printing of that first famous collection. This was published in 1961, and not long after, this word took on a less family-friendly, more anatomical meaning. But despite the fact that its title hasn't aged well, this book contains some of the earliest known examples of Dr. Seuss's celebrated, characteristic illustration style. Merry Christmas. It's time to rename Uranus. The seventh planet from the sun has an absolutely ridiculous name. Your anus? Come on. Even if you try to avoid calling it Uranus by pronouncing it Uranus, you still have to say urine, and everyone knows you mean your anus. Why are you not saying it? Why are you afraid of Uranus? But it didn't have to be this way. When Uranus was discovered, it was named after King George III. It was called George's star, or George's planet. And CGP Grey has pointed out that if we just kept calling it that, it wouldn't be that bad. If we had Jupiter, Saturn, George, and Neptune, the fact that its name was so different could create all kinds of great conversations, especially with students, about how we name things we discover. But personally, I think we should change its name by simply fixing the fact that Uranus is the only planet besides Earth in our solar system whose name comes from Greek mythology, not Roman mythology. Let's give Uranus its Roman name, Kylus. We could also rename Earth Tellus or Terra, but at least Earth doesn't sound like a beehole. Kylus was the father of Saturn, who was the father of Jupiter. It's perfect. I love it. And this is not a joke. Okay, this is a serious request from me to the astronomical authorities. Reject your anus. Embrace Kylus. Please. Come with me as I poop in New Zealand's most photographed public toilet. Located in Kawakawa near the top of the North Island, the Hundertwasser toilets are the final and only Southern Hemisphere project from reclusive artist Friedenstreich Hundertwasser. He was an artist who rejected straight lines, rationalism, function, and flat surfaces. An uneven floor, he said, is a melody to the feet. To him, sterile industrial standards and prohibitions against personalizing one's space were forms of incarceration. He saw the human mind as a guest in nature. So when these toilets were built, he asked that all the vegetation that used to populate the lot be planted on the roof. And Hundertwasser loved feces. In fact, he wrote an entire manifesto called The Holy Shit. To him, excrement was a vital part of the life cycle that we'd all become afraid of. There is no such thing as waste. Shit is the building block of our resurrection. To honor this philosophy, I left a fresh offering. Because we call the rich, organic, life-giving component of soil that's made of death and poop and pee, worked over by microorganisms, humus. And from the same root comes what we call ourselves, humans. In 2009, the year before I created vsauce, a company asked me to pitch them a show about food. My friend Justin and I put together a pilot for a show, and this is literally what we submitted.
How long does it take you to make a peanut butter and banana sandwich? 1 minute? Screw you! Less than a minute? Pfft. I'm not gonna spend more than a second making my sandwich. This is Food Smashers. This is Food Smashers.
Shockingly, Food Smashers was never made. Instead, the company said, okay, look, never do Food Smashers, but could you make us a YouTube channel about video games and call it Video Game Nation? And I said, yeah, whatever, fine, I would love to do that. And so I made the channel about video games, but I didn't like the name Video Game Nation, so I called it vsauce. And here we are today. Side note for those of you watching on TikTok, when I was a little kid, my dad would often sing little silly songs just to pass the time, you know, while he was in the bathroom or whatever. And one of the songs he would sing was to the tune of Camptown Races. And I'm pretty sure he made these lyrics up himself, but I could hear him singing, "Corn Dog Willie was a friend of mine, doo-dah." And so that's where Corn Dog Willie comes from. I don't know what he meant by that song. All I know is that in a way, it's me. One of my fondest childhood memories is my dad taking us outside to burn a chunk of sulfur. That day, my sister and I, for the first time in our lives, got to breathe in the toxic fumes of sulfur dioxide. It smelled terrible. And I mean terrible. Burning sulfur smells so bad and is so irritating, it's used to describe hell itself. When the Bible talks about fire and brimstone, brimstone is an archaic word for sulfur. But take a look at molten sulfur. It's beautiful. Sulfur dioxide is not the most dangerous gas in the world. You get a whiff every time you light a match, but in large quantities it can be pretty hazardous, so don't do this at home. Man, the sense memories that brings back are incredible. It smells like family, childhood, eternal anguish and separation from God, and rotten eggs. P.U. Oh, and I want to say that my dad burning sulfur with this wasn't just like a one-off thing. My dad loved sulfur. He was a sulfur engineer. He decorated his home with giant jars of sulfur, one of which is now here with me in my home. Come here. Yeah. Right now, you are moving towards me at the speed of poop. 2 centimeters per second. That is how quickly, on average, feces leaves the human body. It's about 0.04 of a mile per hour. But guess what? In the animal kingdom, the larger the animal, the faster its poop comes out. Elephant dung races out at 6 centimeters per second. For the typical dog, though, solid waste comes out at only 1 centimeter per second. Okay, but here's where it gets really weird. The bigger the animal, the longer its poos. And their poos are longer by just as much as they are faster. So if you're an animal on this planet, sure, we have our differences, but we share this one thing in common. It takes us each the same amount of time, an average of 12 seconds, to fully evacuate a glob of poo. And I think that's beautiful. Also, here's something to meditate on. It takes about 12 muscles to smile, only 11 to frown, but just 9 to brown. Okay, I just learned the greatest life hack. If you see something that you want to take a picture of, but you left your phone at home, don't worry, just do this. Blindfold yourself for like 30 minutes and then stare at what you want to take a picture of for 3 minutes. Next, pull out one of your eyeballs and cut it in half top to bottom. Throw the back half into a 14% potassic alum solution. Within 24 hours, the rhodopsin on your retina will become fixed into a permanent image of the last thing you were looking at. It's called an optogram. And no one's ever done it. At least, not to themselves. The process was invented in the late 1800s. Here's an optogram from the retina of a rabbit that was forced to stare at a window. Now, at the turn of the century, this caused a lot of excitement. Optograms might help us solve crimes, right? We could look at the eyes of victims and see the last thing they saw. Unfortunately, optograms are of very poor quality. Here's one from the retina of a rabbit that looked at a picture of Salvador Dali. Their poor quality means they have no forensic value, so keep your eyes in their sockets. But don't rub them while they're there. This is what eye rubbing looks like in an MRI. Sure, it feels good, but it's tough on those little jelly balls. All right, let's try this out. What meme will I inspire? What hilarious caption will this put on my face? Here comes the answer. I'm waiting and waiting. AI is busy. Please try again later. Oh my gosh, the internet is hilarious. Here are some jokes that were popular in 1906. This wireless telegraphy reminds me of a groundless quarrel. What possible connection is there between the two? It's practically having words over nothing. I had soup in a restaurant the other day and found an oyster in it. Great Scott, that one oyster in the soup joke is old. Yes, but this was tomato soup. This joke occurs at a baseball game. Why do they call that a foul? I don't see no feathers. No, ma'am. It's a picked 9. He kissed her on the cheek. It seemed a harmless frolic. He's been laid up a week, they say with painter's colic. A man stole a harness the other day and didn't leave a trace. Have you been cured of that last attack of malaria? Oh, yes. Dr. Anna Curran knocked it silly, but her treatment left me with a worse disease than malaria ever was. You don't say? Yes, sir. I've got incurable heart disease now. At the airport today, I was selected for additional screening, and the agent riffled through my books, I guess to see if I had stuff hidden in them. I had 3 books with me. I had some John Berger, I had some Philip Bump, but I also had this new acquisition. Do you know how hard it was for me to get this book? It's banned. The only way to get a copy is to find someone who snatched one up before the threat of legal action ceased its publication. Here's the thing though, This book contains no words. However, the further you get into it, the darker it becomes. You might notice that it's titled 50 Shades of Grey, but it's gray with an A, not an E. This is not the 2011 erotic romance novel by E.L. James. It is an empty book by Shed Samov. It's literally just 50 shades of the color gray arranged in sections of decreasing brightness. Unfortunately, Random House thought that his title was too similar to their title, so they sent Samov a cease and desist, and he complied, which means this book has become very hard to find. Empty books have a long history. Today, you can get this book, Why Dogs Are Better Than Cats. The whole book is just 100 blank pages, because there are no reasons. Cats rule, dogs drool. My uncle gave me this old dried out cob of corn about 8 years ago, and I've just had it around as decoration. But I got a bit hungry today, and of these 6 main types of corn, this cob happens to be popcorn. That means its hull is really strong, so when I warm it up, all the moisture in the endosperm doesn't just turn to steam and gradually escape. Oh no, pressure can build, and that pressure builds to about 135 psi, at which point the hull bursts, and the starches and proteins in the endosperm turn into that beautiful foam that we call popped popcorn. Now, as you can see, this is a huge mess. Really, you should do this by putting the cob in a paper bag or something. But I didn't have any paper bags, and also my mom lives hundreds of miles away and does not even know I'm doing this. Here are the results. I call it popcorn on the cob. As you can see though, most of the kernels popped off the cob, but it's delicious. And here's a fun fact. Corn is a cereal grain, which means, botanically, it's a type of fruit. Let's talk about Robert Todd Lincoln. He was Abraham Lincoln's son, and in 1863 or 64, he slipped at the New Jersey train depot, was almost crushed by a train car, but his life was saved when a man reached out and grabbed him, pulled him back. That man's name was Edwin Booth. Booth was traveling that day with his friend John T. Ford, and a year later, Edwin's brother, John Wilkes Booth, assassinated Robert's father at John T. Ford's theater. Robert was a half-mile away at the White House when it happened, and that would turn out to be the furthest he would ever be from a presidential assassination in his lifetime. That's right, 3 presidents were assassinated during Robert's lifetime, and he happened to be near all 3 of them. He was at the Pan American Expo in Buffalo, New York, when McKinley was assassinated, and he was President Garfield's Secretary of War and was with him on the platform in D.C. and witnessed his assassination. He eventually decided to stop hanging out with presidents. Oh, by the way, I visited the grave of John Wilkes Booth a few years ago, and it's customary when you visit to leave a little copper portrait of his victim on his tombstone, making his tombstone our nation's most glorious take a penny, leave a penny. Today, we're gonna make boring bubbles. Or are we? First, we squirt liquid soap into water. Next, we dissolve 11 grams of sodium hydrogen sulfate in 100 milliliters of water. The sodium hydrogen sulfate will provide a source of hydrogen ions, and if we can give those ions some electrons, they will pair up and form hydrogen gas. Some magnesium metal will do just that. Now I'm gonna stopper this up, and I'm going to send the gas into our soapy water. The soap and water will trap the gas into cute bubbles. If you think explosive hydrogen gas is cute, we'll let the bubbles accumulate for a while. All right, should we light them? If you want to do stuff like this with your kids, awesome, I got you. I don't just work for the Curiosity Box, I also work for Mel Science, and our science kits are... You can get everything you need to do stuff like this in our chemistry course. And you know what? You want 60% off your first kit? Use code CORNDOG. is probably the most irresponsible thing I own. We've all seen these. Silica gel packets. Do not eat. They contain silica dioxide, a material that absorbs moisture really well to keep humidity levels low. But if ingested, it can cause internal blockages. It can also irritate your lungs and your eyes and your skin. Basically, do not eat it. But what if you want to? Well, my friend Dory, who I've worked with for years, now runs a company called Wask, and they made these. They look exactly like do not eat silica gel packets, but inside, well, they're actually filled with candy. Now, is this irresponsible to have around? Is it a work of art? Is it a comment on humanity's fragility and desires? Yes. This is how I spell the word church. It's wrong. Or is it? T can make a ch sound. Look at the word picture. And OLO is obviously pronounced kernel. T, again making a ch, gives us church. Now this might remind you of that old chestnut, goaty, but this doesn't spell goaty. Oh no, this is a way to spell fish. The GH makes the f sound we see in enough. The O is pronounced like the O in women, and the TI is like the TI in nation, fish. Now, if all of this has you thinking, what? Why? Let me explain. This is not OED, the Oxford English Dictionary. This is a way to spell the word what. The O is pronounced like the O in one, and the ED is pronounced with a T, like in hacked. And this, how is this why? Well, take a look. Why? K. Why-er. Choir. Why? Why? This, however, is just the name Edith written 3 times. It is not a sentence about a teacher who prepared students to visit the Netherlands. Or is it? To me, this says Edith taught Dutch, and I'll show you why. First of all, we have Edith conventional spelling. This ED is pronounced like the T we saw in hacked. This I makes an aw sound, like it does in lingerie. And here we have TH making a T sound, as in Thomas, Thailand, or the River Thames. Now down here, this E makes the same sound that E does in the word minute. It's silent. This is D as in dog, and this I makes the same sound that it does in the word president. Here we have a T that's going to make the ch we see in picture, and this H makes the sound it makes in honorable. It's silent as well. Edith taught Dutch. This is a CMY cube. It's a beautiful example of subtractive color mixing. It has 3 axes: cyan, magenta, and yellow. The cyan filter removes long wavelength colors like red. The yellow filter removes shorter wavelengths like deep blues. So together, only greens in the middle of the spectrum get through. The magenta filter, however, blocks light in the middle of the spectrum. So paired with cyan, only short wavelength blues and purples get through, while paired with yellow, just the long reds and oranges emerge. Or do they? Sometimes, yes. But from the other side, there's no mixing. What? Well, I worked with the inventors of the CMY cube last year when we made our exclusive Curiosity Box edition, and they are great people, and they told me some of their secrets. And now I'm going to tell you. Psych! You should have seen your face. Okay, what I will tell you is that I tore one apart, and it's not just about filters, it's also about reflections. You can only see my fingers through here when I squeeze really tightly. Now you know what one of my fingerprints looks like. If you took a screenshot, you could use that image as a reference to create gloves that mimicked my prints, and then you could commit crimes and I would get the blame, right? Are you gonna do that? Go ahead. Do it. Grab a wire coat hanger and about 5 feet of string. Tie the hanger's hook in the middle of the string. Wrap the ends of the string around your fingers and then stick your fingers in your ears. Now, let the hanger dangle as far down as you want, and with your ears firmly plugged, swing the hanger into something solid, like a wall or a table or a chair leg. Okay, now to you, those collisions probably sound pretty weak. But to me, oh well, every time the hanger vibrates, it sends vibrations through the string, to my fingers, and then into my skull. That causes my eardrums to vibrate in a very special way, so that what I hear is a deep, beefy gong sound. Try it yourself. Why was 6 afraid of 7? Because 7 ate 9? No. 7 never ate 9. 7 doesn't even know 9. The truth is, years ago, 6 and 7 decided to go camping together. And 7 wanted to bring 3 knives for survival. But 6 knew that 7 secretly hated him and didn't have benign intentions. Thick and thin. If I roll them both up and let go, which one do you think will unroll fastest? Think about it. All right, you got your answer? Let's see if you're right. 3, 2, 1. Hey, what do you know? It's a tie. The first person to kiss Paula Abdul isn't who you think it is. We are told that according to Paula, I had my first kiss under a tree near the school. It was with a boy named Michael, who rarely spoke, but he would sometimes give me one of the cookies from his lunch. Maybe it was the gifts that made me feel special, I don't know. But when our lips touched, it felt magical. But there were no lips. At least, not on a guy named Michael who had cookies. The whole story is made up. It's a joke written by Joe Quazala. It was published on Clickhole in 2015, where the joke was that it sounds like a story from her youth, but it's actually adult Paula Abdul just talking about her week so far. But the punchline was lost on many, and today, if you Google Paula Abdul's first kiss, you will find that that joke has become consensus history. Now, I looked into it, and Paula Abdul's first kiss actually came from a man named Craig Schiller. But I'm glad that Quiet Michael, a man who was never born and has no lips, is here with us. He sounds nice. Diarrhea. It's not fun to have or spell. Until now. Here are some mnemonics to help you always get it right. Dehydration is a real risk. Have electrolytes available. Definitely. I agree. Richie Rich has enough automobiles. Did Isaac Asimov really roll his eyes? Absolutely. Dang it. Another radish ran home. Enough already. Dashing in a real rush. Hurry or else accident. Dostoevsky's Ivan argues reflection reveals human existence's absurdity. Dude, it's a really runny, hot, explosive avalanche. The most valuable thing I own is probably this. 5 years ago, I had a chance to meet the individual behind How To Basic. As a gift, I was given this, which they had recently used in a video. I asked if they would sign it, but they had never signed an autograph before, didn't even know what to sign. We worked together to come up with this, HTB, with 2 eggs drawn on either side, and then the date underneath. This may not be the only autograph How To Basic has ever done, but it very well may be the first. But here's what's really wild. I was so nervous and so honored to meet the actual mysterious How To Basic that I took it really seriously. I didn't tell anyone their name. I didn't even tell my own wife. And so for 5 years, I just didn't even think about their name. Today, I have forgotten it. I literally forgot who How To Basic is. If you kidnapped me and tortured me to give you that information, I couldn't. All I have is this memory. This can of soda expired almost 4 years ago, July 1st, 2019. And this morning I discovered that it's been leaking everywhere. It's never been opened. But under pressure, the carbonic, citric, and phosphoric acid in soda can eventually make microscopic holes in aluminum. I decided there's really only one thing to do. Taste test. What does soda taste like that has been eating through metal for years? It smelled like soda, but it tasted like water. It was nice and refreshing, honestly. And that's anticlimactic. I was hoping I would do something like this. Right? That would have been funny. Please like me. You do the hokey pokey and you turn yourself around. That's what it's all about. But what if it is? What if the hokey pokey is what it's all about? The origins of the phrase hokey pokey are unknown, but one of the best theories, in my opinion, is that it was first popularized as a funny thing to say by being used to refer to ice cream made with little tiny bits of stuff in it. This is supported by the fact that hokey pokey may be a corruption of the Italian phrase oche poco, meaning oh how little. And isn't that what we all are? Tiny things that exist for but a moment of galactic time, just long enough to stick a leg in, shake it about, and then retreat back to dust. Your experiences are gargantuan, but compared to the vastness around you, what if it's all about the hokey pokey? Oh, how little. Hey, vsauce, Michael here. Do you want to see the most illegal thing I own? It's a penny from 2027. That's right, it is a piece of counterfeit US currency. Or is it? There are no 2027 pennies today, which means that this is a counterfeit of an original that doesn't exist yet. I mean, sure, if you didn't look at the date, this could pass as real, but will it not truly be counterfeit until 2027? Well, what we do know is that its novelty has a lifespan. It's really cool to show people today. It's a penny from the future. But in 2027, it will become indistinguishable from a common penny, and it will cease to be as interesting. I cannot tell you where I got this, but the point is, I can break the law. I am free. Perhaps not free from punishment, but nonetheless, here we are. Before you were born, what did you see? How dark was it inside your mother's body? Pretty much no visible light gets deep within our body cavity, but a uterus? Well, inside a womb at night, this is what you would see. But during the day, it might look more like this. In fact, it can be bright enough inside a womb to read a book. Inside a womb, covered with light clothing and an averagely thick abdomen, in direct sunlight, it can be as bright as an overcast day or even a typical office building. It's a womb with a view. Oh, also, if you shine a trio of lights like this at a human fetus in the womb, it won't really care. But if you shine lights like this, it will look at them and follow them. Why? Well, the leading theory is that this arrangement more closely resembles a human face, and that even before we're born, even before we've met anyone, we are already looking for other people. This is a fantastic question. How do we know human body temperature is dropping? Couldn't it just be that the methods we use to measure temperature are changing? Well, researchers have considered that, and what they found is that the effect does not depend on method of thermometry at all. Instead, it only depends on birth year. If you were to look at all the measurements made by one doctor using one device on one day, you can still see the effect. It's not that the measurements we get are dropping over time, it's that newer born people are coming out and running cooler than those born before. And we don't know why. If you want some more mysteries, check out the website where I first learned about this body temperature decline, Wik Enigma. It's a wiki not of things we know, but of things we don't. And if you're watching this video somewhere besides Instagram or TikTok, go follow me on Instagram or TikTok because I can make longer vertical videos there. I love you. A fart can escape your genes, but it can also genes escape. What does that mean? Well, it means that it's possible that you have farted on the moon. Molecules in our atmosphere are always bumping into each other. A collision can slow a molecule down, but it can also speed a molecule up. Astronomer James Jeans showed that a collision or a series of collisions can even accelerate a molecule in our atmosphere to Earth's escape velocity. Under the right conditions, such a molecule can leave Earth forever to be free to roam the solar system. This process is called Jeans escape. It's why we have found oxygen from Earth on the moon. It and related mechanisms are why Earth loses 3 kilograms of hydrogen every single second. And a human fart can be 50% hydrogen. So whenever you bake an air muffin, you're reaching for the stars. "99% of what comes out of your butt when you fart is completely odorless. It's the 1% that causes the trouble. Primarily hydrogen sulfide. Hydrogen sulfide exists in a typical fart at a maximum concentration of about 1 part per million. And you might be thinking, well, the more I can get into my farts, the worse they'll smell. Yeah, that's true, but only to a point. I call it the fart limit. According to OSHA, if your farts were 30 times stronger, they wouldn't even smell like farts anymore. They would smell sweet. Sickeningly sweet, but still. And if your farts were 100 times stronger, they would smell like nothing. Anyone who got a direct whiff would experience immediate olfactory paralysis. By the way, it may not be medically possible, but in theory, a fart could literally be silent but deadly. As many of you know, I work with Mel Science, and I think that we make the best science experiment kits. For example, watch this. We have just created what chemists call diarrhea water. But watch, we're not done. It will slowly turn into... That's right, we have made urine. Or did we? This is called a clock reaction. We give you everything you need to do it at home, but we don't just do chemistry kits. We also do stuff like this, literal dentistry kits. It comes with a tongue simulant. So if you or someone you know is curious this holiday season, we have just the brain food to sate their informational hunger. I want to show you an unusual book I have in my collection that is used in a unique way. The Book of Answers by Carol Bolt. It is not a Magic 8-Ball, it is a Magic 700 book. You think of a close-ended question and then you open to a random page to find the answer. For example, can I eat poop if I cook it first? Yes! Now it's your turn. Think of a question, and I'm going to flip through pages in the book really quickly. When you're ready, pause the video, and what you pause on is your randomly generated answer. Good luck. one of my favorite books, The Ultimate Guide to Vloggers. It's got Zoella, it's got JoJo, it's got vsauce.